Hey, Renegade, do you have a mic? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm going to Dusty Death Park.
Okay, man. Shut the fuck up.
Cool, can I?
Oh my god, dude, I told you to shut the